Warsaw, Poland, 1863. Another Polish uprising was firmly crushed by the Russian Empire, which made it quite clear that it wasn't going to tolerate any independence movements on their recently acquired territory. Cossacks threw Chopin's grand piano through this very window. It had been kept as a souvenir for over 30 years after his departure from Poland, and they threw the bloody thing out of the window. Chopin's friend, renowned Polish poet C.K. Norwood, wrote "The Master Hit the Ground." It was his way of describing Chopin's music in which art corresponded with reality. These people did something barbaric and stupid. Only a fool can assume that music would be killed like that. From that moment on, in what can only be described as a perfect example of poetic justice, Chopin's music became the symbol of Polish culture. Chopin was born in this manor house. And so the story goes, it was under this very window that a folk group was playing during the moment of his birth. What a way to enter the world through the beauty of Mazovian landscape and culture. Young Frederick embraced the atmosphere. Visiting palaces, churches, and villages, the future genius was shaped in Warsaw. You know, fans gather here from all over the world to pay their respects to Chopin at this statue. Perhaps only Elvis Presley or the Beatles had this kind of devotion. "200 years ago, this street was the center of Warsaw, bustling with life. It still is. Opposite, the biggest Polish university where Chopin studied, which today is the Academy of Fine Arts. Inside is the famous living room of Chopin's family. Warsaw was generous to Chopin with all that this city could offer a young man: friends, fascinating art, and many places to cherish music. Here he performed his first live shows, went to the theater and opera, met top Polish artists, all the movers and shakers of Warsaw. Frederick was a prodigy. The local press declared him to be the new Mozart. Just imagine, a horse-drawn carriage pulls up. A small boy walks through the doors with his mother, hops in, and off they go. 10-year-old Frederick is on the way to the Belvedere, where Grand Prince Constantine, Russian ruler of Poland, resides. He is to perform for the Tsar's brother to win over the so-called beast. Constantine warmed to Chopin and invited him over on several occasions. On top of that, he requested Chopin's music to be played during his beloved military parades. Chopin was well favored by wealthy citizens. The opera diva Angelica Catalani gave the clever boy an engraved watch. Tsar Alexander I offered him a diamond ring as a token of appreciation for his fluency on an instrument called an Aeoli melodicon, whatever that might have been. Here in the Wysoki church, 16-year-old Frederick often played the organ during Mass, but he wasn't the only one to do so. One day, an organist was playing so badly that a livid Chopin took over. He got completely carried away with the music and became oblivious to the proceedings and the priest at the altar. Piano dates back to the end of the 18th century. The electric guitar is probably the only other instrument in the history of music that has such significance. Each instrument had its own wizards who discovered the elusive powers and hidden beauty. Young Chopin's contribution to popular music of the 19th century was of the same magnitude as that which Jimi Hendrix gave us a century and a half later. Chopin claimed the grand piano was the main piece of furniture in their house, and he was right. This is an original Buchholz grand piano. It was owned by Franz Liszt, who was Chopin's close friend. Chopin favored the sound and depth of this particular piano. Yes, he was Shakespeare's Prospero of the grand piano. He cast a spell and suddenly things were different. Famous pianist Arthur Rubinstein said, "The keys touched by Chopin produced a pure magic. First and foremost, he knew how to make the piano sing. He instinctively knew that in order for a melody not to feel mechanical, it needs to breathe, like a human voice, and thus he made the piano breathe." Nowadays, Chopin is admired and revered all over the world, but at school, he was very much a happy-go-lucky kid. He thrived on jokes, loved good times, and enjoyed showing off to his college friends. Needless to say, he was very much sought after on the Warsaw party scene. In the age of enlightenment, science, art, and literary institutions were popping up all over Europe. Frederick was the founder of one such organization called the Literary and Entertainment Society. He was its chairman, of course, and every session was full of his impersonation of teachers and friends, a gift for which he was well known. When on holiday in the rural estate of Szafarni, he edited his own paper. It contained news and a gossip column, as well as amusing observations about livestock and domestic creatures. For example, a cartoon of a cat and dog fighting over a piece of meat. Many of Chopin's classmates were the children of rich nobles and aristocrats. Chopin moved easily into this exclusive social level and received invitations into grand houses throughout the country. Picture his world. White-painted residences surrounded by ancient trees, old-fashioned clavichords in every living room, thoroughbred horses in the stables, and wheat-filled barns. Looks as if something interesting might be happening. Next to the rich man's world was the other one, the simple world, populated by ordinary people with their emotions and spontaneity. This delicate boy would spend hours watching and absorbing folk music. It stuck with him for life and would be his constant source of inspiration when, years later, he was composing mazurkas and nocturnes in Paris. The very essence of the Polish countryside and folklore was portrayed in every note he played. You know how much I wanted to feel, and I came to feel our national music, wrote Chopin to his friend. Any chance of a lift? May I?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. This is fun. Chopin's parents recognized the importance of being well-traveled. Rural Poland, very much like England, comprised of different estates owned by aristocrats and noblemen. His newfound friends were part of that upscale society, and he quickly became a fixture on this heady social circuit. Traveling in the 19th century wasn't fun, especially in Eastern Europe. Even so, Chopin covered thousands of kilometers in a couple of years. His curiosity led him to a diversity of palaces, roadside inns, simple shacks, and Baroque churches. In fact, it's hard to find a part of Poland not visited by Chopin. Travel was Frédéric's passion. In Torun, for example, he was thrilled to visit the home of Europe's greatest astronomer, Nicholas Copernicus. He later wrote about this experience to all of his friends. This beautiful place called Płock had great significance in medieval Poland. Chopin specifically veered off track to stop and see the city. On the proud and picturesque hill overlooking the Vistula River is the former Benedictine abbey, as well as the ruins of a castle and medieval church. The remains of the first kings of Poland can be found here, Władysław Herman and Bolesław the Wrymouth of the Piast dynasty. Frédéric Chopin bowed his head before the founding fathers of his country. He was not only an artist, but a patriot as well. It is in Płock where Chopin first showed off his feistiness. He made a scene at the post office when a letter from his father did not contain the usual cash allowance. You know what it's like when your credit card doesn't work while you're on holiday? Mine's working all right, so let's eat. So Maria, this is a reggae record, or what? Is that, who's that on the front cover?
This is Chopin. It even looks very strange.
Chopin?
Yes.
Or Frédéric Marley, you mean? Or Bob Chopin?
This is Chopin on 5 continents, why it looks so ethnic.
Fantastic. It's a great design. During his visits to the palaces of the Polish aristocracy, Chopin got a taste for the good life. Here he started to be a sharp dresser. Later in Paris, Chopin was a dedicated follower of fashion and became a victim of his love of luxury. He was a big-time artist, frequenting expensive restaurants and preferring cabrios to cheaper carriages. He loved everything to be of the best quality. He preferred to dress in tuxedos, particularly a deep blue one with golden buttons, complemented by pearly trousers. A fancy scarf pinned with a diamond brooch wrapped around his neck, accompanied by his mandatory snowy white gloves. He was dressed by the best tailors, shoemakers, and hat makers, observed his friend and rival, the Hungarian pianist and composer Franz Liszt. His love of gloves became his true obsession. Without gloves, you have no class, wrote Chopin to a friend. Funny how I keep losing my gloves. In 1830, at the age of 20, Chopin left Poland, never to return. He was a focused artist, sure of his talent, and very aware that in order to hit the big time, he must move to Paris, which was then the cultural capital of the world. He was blessed with inspiration from his formative years and knew very well how to distinguish himself from other European musicians. Arthur Rubinstein said the way Chopin's music wins over every audience is something I have no words for. Chopin rules everywhere, no matter where I go. Chopin is the essence of Polish national music, and at the same time, the most cosmopolitan one. Chopin died far away from his home. He was both successful and famous. According to his wish, Fryderyk Chopin's heart was returned to Poland many years later.